having the roof drop down as much.
Regular meeting of the Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry on Thursday evening, May 3, 2018. We have 8 items on our agenda tonight. I'd like a motion to open the meeting, please.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. The first item number 1 on our agenda is to adopt minutes for planning board meetings of February 1 and March 1, 2018. I have reviewed each of those and have no comments. Do other board members have comments, additions, corrections?
Nope.
Good. Then I'll take a motion to approve, probably take them sequentially, the minutes for the meeting of February 1, 2018. I would move that. Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you. And the meeting of March 1, 2018, I would move adoption of that. Second. All in favor? Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda is 26 Allen Street, the house that we've been talking about there. I'm assuming that you have nothing new to tell us, and
Correct.
we can continue on.
We can continue on, hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have the things that we need. And if you want to skip over 374, I have to swap out laptops, because this one's not reading stuff.
Fine
So
with
we'll
me.
take number 4.
I see that the applicant for number 4 is here, which is 8091 Beachdale Road. This is a continuation of public hearing. I would move that we open the public hearing. Second. All in favor? Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Joel Perry, State Owners Land and Surveyor here for Mark Bailey and Michelle Caruso. And so just recap a few things. We did have a site walk today, and we took a look at what's going on down there. Hopefully you all understand what's going to happen. Okay, I think it's a really good improvement, okay, in conjunction with the house that's being built. Okay, because eventually, okay, we're going to eliminate this common driveway. That situation will go away. Okay, the turnaround that people are using in front of the favorite Caruso house is gonna go away. Okay, there are issues that George and I have been going back and forth with some, pretty much for 2 or 3 weeks now, okay, on drainage, okay? My opinion here, okay, is there's no perfect solution for this situation there. Okay, the water from the common driveway comes down to the extension of the common driveway, okay, which services the house that's being under construction, and then it continues. Okay, so the water comes down that hill. We went out, we took a look, we found a couple of drain boxes, and lo and behold, we find that the drain boxes are empty boxes. Okay, there's no outlet, no going anywhere. So I do not believe this is a perfect solution to this, okay? However, as both projects get through the completion, okay, I think everything will calm down there. Drainage-wise, we are installing some drainage, okay, on our project where there is none now, except some 2x2 blocks, okay, there's nothing. And so, my things on this project are, one, I hope that they follow my lead, okay, when they build this thing, they come in, do the work on the site that they have to do, including installing the drainage, and then back out, and not go and utilize, okay, current unused path, the one that you all saw in the field. And the other thing is not to be too harsh on these trees, take down the trees that have to come down, and a big thing with me is not to mar up all that nice lake. I think that if you go through this that way, and you back out of his job, and when the job comes into completion, we never really resolve who's removing the driveway. So if I go on the record and say, portion of the driveway, okay, we're no longer going to use. As long as the people next door are not going to use it, we'll remove it. So all the work should be done utilizing that driveway and that turnaround back out. And then the last thing to do is put in the driveway that's on that traffic light. This way you don't destroy the environment when you do it. That's it.
I know there was a site visit when I was away, and I regret having missed that, but think members of the board have a better, hopefully a better understanding of what the application is now and what the issues are, both for the applicant and perhaps for the neighbors.
I think it'd be good to hear from George, you know, just on some of the items that were mentioned, what you consider something outstanding.
Yeah, we had a list of items, we've gone through them with Paul. I think it's accurate in saying that this is pretty straightforward, it's a benefit. I think at this point, there just needs to be some details that need to be worked out. There's some percentage of grade in the driveway that are steep, that maybe could be flattened out a little. Making sure that maybe the two neighbors work together to pull out some of that common driveway. That could be worked on along with the building department. But I think everything could be worked out. So, but I think some back and forth still remains between us and the engineer.
And these abandoned drain boxes, they just stay in place, or?
Well, that's a good question, because right now, when we spoke to the owner, she said there was no issues. So it does provide some type of function. We don't know if the drain from the building to the drain box, there's a pipe that comes in there. We don't know if that's perforated and that's performing a function and that's just an outlet. There's no records of it. It's not in the building department, so we don't know how it functions. We just know that there's no flooding. We don't know if we take that away that there will be now a problem. So I think the path to these drain boxes hasn't been altered. There was a garden on there, it's been removed, but what's been happening now hasn't changed. So what they're doing hasn't changed it, so there's no impact. And they are improving it by putting in two-foot diameter pipes of pretty reasonable size.
I think.
Any other members that were on, particularly those that were able to go on the tour, reaction to what's happening?
I mean, I think it's very straightforward. You know? I think it's an improvement on what's
Yeah.
there now.
Okay. Good. It's a public hearing. Is there someone that wishes to be heard?
I have a question. My name is Rachel.
Yeah, please, at the microphone.
This way? The question that I have, I think it's, I don't know who it's for, but I really didn't either hear or understand what you were saying about the drainage. And can you explain, are you saying that there's no change from the current situation? So that if we don't have water running down onto our property now, there's no change that would make us have water in the houses behind and front of this land?
Well,
I didn't understand what the point was. Is there an issue or a problem?
Let me speak to that. Do you live on east side?
I don't know if it's east or west, but I live there. I live
Judson.
on Judson Avenue.
You live on Judson Avenue? Okay. Because, first of all, one thing we did is we're not even going, so the hill goes on, okay? So the water can't get in. Everything regular is on this side. We're leaving the woods alone, which is a great idea. Both the village engineer and I are going to go out there, okay? We're going to watch this thing being done, okay? I think that's the way to do this. Watch this thing being done, okay? And in fact, there's a limited disturbance that announcements will not allow the machinery to flow down, okay? You don't want the machinery to go towards your direction at all, okay? For
The
multiple.
road is going towards our.
Well, no, the road drains towards the existing driveway. It's not gonna drain
It
towards.
drains towards the house at 91.
Yes, okay. None of that's changing.
It doesn't drain away onto the woods.
No, no. That's the nice thing about this. It's kind of like, let's just get the water to go where it's going now, okay? Take out this old road, get rid of that, okay? Two separate entrances, that kind of stuff.
I was just concerned, you said you've been talking with the engineer for 2 weeks about the drainage, and I didn't know what the problem was.
Well, the quandary has been these little boxes that are in the ground that receive water and they go nowhere, okay? That's it, so it's kind of like, why were they there? Neither one of us know, okay? But we're gonna find out if there's any connection, okay, which I doubt.
Yeah. I I think it's important for you to hear it from the applicant, but it's perhaps even more reassuring and important to hear it from the village engineer who has looked at the plans, has walked the site, and understands how the water is gonna move and what change, if any, there's gonna be.
So you're confident that there's no change?
Well, we're gonna make sure that there's some details that we're gonna look at, like Paul said, during construction, and there's some other grades that we're gonna look at, and swales and so forth, to make sure. Your concern is that everything's, looking at this plan, I'm not sure, everything wouldn't go east down towards the hillside and whatnot, and we're gonna ensure that that's gonna happen.
So, just as a procedural matter, what happens if while
Use
you're
the
looking at
microphone.
it during construction?
Are you, please use the microphone.
Okay, sorry. If during construction, while you're looking at it, you decide there's a problem, or you think there's a problem, what can you do to make sure it's addressed?
Well, there's standards, construction standards for drainage where we can redirect something, if we have groundwater, rock, or something that's preventing something from going in the direction that we want it to, we can do things to push it in that direction that it should go.
But if you've already approved the site plan approval, if you've already given them site plan approval, what authority do you have to make, to go back and they can fix the problem that you discovered during construction?
Some things are, you can't, need to be field determined. You can't determine everything on a plan. So that, those are the things that we would address in the field. But we're gonna bring the plan as well as it can be prior to Ed issuing a building permit. It's if we come across something during construction that we can't foresee and that we can't control, then we have to address it.
Okay, so the approval, will, if you approve it, the approval will let you address that issue after the fact?
Yes.
After the approval,
Yes,
in terms of the approval?
yes.
That would be baked into the resolution, presumably. The resolution can basically have it constructed to the satisfaction of the village engineer.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, while I'm here, can I say one other thing that's not related to that question, or should I sit down?
You can have another question.
Okay, it's not a question, it's just a comment. I was at the walkthrough, I appreciate the opportunity to do that, and it's pretty clear to me, and I think others that were there, that one would see cars on this new driveway from the homes on Judson, which you don't see now, which is, I mean, it's, to my mind, a substantial change. So I just wanted to say that if you are inclined to approve this, I think it's important, and that the zoning code requires, that you do it in a way that provides screening to adjacent property and minimizes disturbance of open space. And it seems to me that that would mean they should be required to not remove any trees other than the trees that are right in the way of the driveway, and replace trees to make up for the ones that they've taken away.
Good, thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard on this application? I don't believe we have a resolution prepared for this evening, do we?
I think you do.
I thought we did, but I don't have one.
There you go.
It's the resolution. No, I didn't.
So we're going to close the public hearing?
Yeah, I first would move to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Second.
Anybody opposed? No. Thank you. A resolution, Village of Dobbs Ferry Planning Board resolution granting site plan approval for the construction of a new driveway and parking area together with related site work at 91 Beachdale Road. Whereas Mark Fader and Michelle Luzzo, owners, have applied for site plan approval to construct a new driveway and parking lot and make related site improvements at 91 Beachdale Road, denoted on tax assessment maps. This section gives the location. Whereas the following plans and documents were submitted as part of the application and lists a series of things that we and others have reviewed. Whereas the planning board is familiar with the site and surrounding area and the proposed improvement plans, and at their meeting of April 5, 2018, held a duly and noticed public hearing, and all comments were considered. And whereas On April 14, 2018, a duly noticed site visit was conducted by the planning board, and whereas the planning board has reviewed the staff reports prepared by James J. Hahn Engineering dated March 30, 2018, revised April 3, and dated May 3 for the subject application, whereas the proposed improvement to this single-family property is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act and is therefore exempt from further environmental review. Now therefore be resolved that the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry hereby grants site plan approval for the subject application conditioned on the following. All applicable provisions of the village, county, and state regulations shall be met. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, all required site plans and engineering review fees shall be paid, and all items in the village consulting engineer's memo dated March 30, revised April 30, 2018, and dated May 3, 2018, shall be addressed to his satisfaction. The following language shall be added to the plan, approved subject to all requirements and conditions of a resolution dated May 3, 2018 of the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry. Any change, erasure, modification, or revision of this plan absent reapproval by the planning board shall void this approval. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall have an effective date of May 3, 2018. I would make the motion. Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you.
What was the part about that we just discussed about revisiting the drainage during the?
I'm sorry. I'm not hearing you.
She was saying
Where-
basically to the satisfaction of the engineers.
Revisiting.
Yeah.
George was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's the language.
Consulting engineer,
Yeah.
village consulting engineer, which is Mr. Palmer.
The language is in that he just read, and maybe didn't sound correct.
Didn't sound, it didn't seem to say that.
That's what I said.
Can I see the resolution? You voted already, but I'd just like to see it.
You may have a copy.
Do we want to make that restatement? Should we?
yeah, you can say, not only to the satisfaction of the memo, but any and all issues during construction as well, that's fine.
Very good. All right, so you'll amend the
Yeah,
final thing
we can
to
do that.
include that. All right, thank you.
I don't get it. Is the language we just talked about in that resolution?
I think what Mr. Palmer was explaining is that they're gonna amend, we'll have a quick vote to amend what we just approved to include that language that more clearly provides that this will be subject to Mr. Palmer's review.
Not only during your review, but also during construction. It's actually implied when we say
Yeah.
that when you meet all the conditions of our memorandum, you will be meeting all the conditions to make the site as compliant as possible. But we're also amending it to say that during construction, we can make modifications as well.
I mean, his memo, you may not have seen it, his memo may list 20 or 30 things, requirements for the applicant. And that's picked up in one line here, so it doesn't enumerate those, but it is specifically,
We have his memo here, right?
Well, one of them was the voting, the drainage point that you just discussed, one of the 30 things.
The drainage is actually several items in there, so.
yeah.
But in any event, we're gonna change it to have that language.
Do we need to vote again just to
Might as well
include
just have a
that?
very quick vote
Okay.
to amend the previously approved resolution, just to include that language,
Okay,
just
so-
very quickly.
So I'll make the motion that we're going to add this specific language that all work during construction shall be done to the satisfaction of the village's consulting engineer.
Is that,
Yeah, second. All in favor?
fine,
Thank you.
I think all of that is implied.
It is.
In everything that we do. But if it makes,
The next item on our agenda is item number 5.
Actually, can we go back to number 3?
Good evening.
Do we have to?
Yes. I mean, you want me to wait till the end, I will, but it's up to you.
Okay, item number 3, which is, listed as 364 Ashford Avenue. Continuation of application for joining 3 existing parcels. Well, I don't, what do you think this is?
What do I think we're here for?
What do you think that,
Well, there's 2 things that we were hoping to do tonight. We've been to the board of trustees to refer this matter to the planning board, specifically to consider legalization of the 5th unit So what we're basically doing is, this top diagram is, you've got these drawings. This shows the house on one parcel, parking lot on the parcel next to it, and then a third parcel. What we're proposing to do is to eliminate the two lines that separate this into 3 lots to make it 1 lot, so that the house and the parking lot, the whole property is a single one, with the understanding that the parking is for the house. And we have a plat map that's been prepared that actually makes that clear. So I don't know what the process that you want to do is, if it's something you can do tonight, or if we have to do something else with it. I know we have done a subdivision, we've had a public hearing, discussed these things there, but I'm willing to do it any way that you want. So one is the consolidation of 3 lots. The second thing is the legalization of the 5th unit in the existing house. The existing house is an older house, it's not in terrific condition. It is a building that currently does not have a sprinkler system. We have agreed that we would do the sprinkler system that the building inspector, building department has made a request for. To do that, we would need to have the 5 units. To have the 5 units, you need to make a recommendation to the board of trustees that that would be acceptable. This is the DT zoning district. DT zoning district does not have any restriction on the number of residential units. The only thing that would be a lowest common denominator here could be perhaps the parking. We have 9 spaces with 5 apartments. We would be requiring 6.5 spaces, and we have 9. So whatever you guys want to do.
Well, I think one of the concerns continues to be that we can't move, we may not be able to move forward because the lot above it has not been finalized.
That has nothing to do with those 2 items.
Sure it does.
How?
You can't join those 3 lots if that one lot is not in existence the way you're proposing it.
It's not,
I understand what you're saying is that the one lot that doesn't show on this drawing could potentially not exist.
No, the one lot that does show on the drawing
Right.
is a through lot until you complete the subdivision.
But that has nothing to do with the fact that there are 2 lines on this plat map dividing it into 3 parcels, that if we remove the division between them, it becomes a consolidated lot.
It becomes a different consolidated lot. It
It would have-
becomes consolidated with a through lot.
it's not what's shown on there.
You can't remove one of those lines until it's,
That's
separated.
what you're showing doesn't exist because we haven't completed
We
the
haven't
subdivision.
completed
Yeah.
the
You're gonna finish
final plat
26.
map For 26, we have concluded the subdivision, we've concluded the site plan for it.
But we need actual plat map and the purchase of the lot to make that a legal lot on Allen. And until that happens, it's still a through lot, and that this map here doesn't reflect the actual current conditions.
Right. Do you want to make any recommendation on the unit contingent upon that getting done?
I think,
Once
Ed-
that's done, this is a no-brainer. We
I think
move
that
forward with all those conditions.
there was a note circulated about a number of conditions that I
Right,
think should
it
just be
needs,
stated.
it needs to provide the parking, which is saying we need to merge the 3 lots. We need to, rec fee, we need the sprinklers and alarm system, we need any fines imposed by the court paid, and we also need to put the condition that any variances for that building are just for that building, and not any future buildings. So those were the conditions that recommended by the Board of Trustees. And,
Which we agreed to.
right, so as soon as 26 is done and that can become a new lot, then we're ready to go ahead.
Please excuse me if I didn't just assume that the planning board would be willing to just do what they were asked to do. So I was here tonight in case there were questions about that and issues with that. I can certainly understand that they're not in a position tonight to make a decision, but
Any
it's still
questions
worth
can
asking
be
the
answered, but
questions.
yes, but the main thing to do now is to complete the 26 subdivision. And then we can move ahead with this.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? So in terms of the sprinkler, the fire, all of these improvements and the legalization of the 5th unit, I'm not clear if that is or is not a condition by which the subdivision or the
You're
unsubdivided.
going to merge the lots. Once this is a subdivided lot, you're gonna merge the remaining portion of that lot with these other two. Then you're gonna send your recommendation
conditions-
back to the Board of Trustee that they approve this fifth unit subject to all their conditions, once you've merged the lots.
And until such time, this remains 3 separate parcels with the parking on one and the house on the other. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
What,
I
what
mean,
is,
it's in your,
It's in mine, I don't know if it's in everyone's.
yeah, well, your applicant's control. It's not within our control.
You need to buy that portion from the neighbor and get the plat completed.
Understood.
Patty, you can see the problem if, for instance, you were not able to complete purchase of the other lot. This whole thing falls apart, that section, the 25-foot wide strip of land, if that did not go
Right.
through, we're absolutely back to square one. So we
No,
have.
I understand
So,
that.
in a way, we think that the ideas you have here, I think, everybody's saying is good ideas
That seems fine.
and whatever, something that it makes logical sense, but
Again, I don't make assumptions on what the board members want to think. I can come here and have somebody say, we think it's a real mistake to subdivide, to combine those. We've got a Facebook discussion that takes place that talks about that this shouldn't happen. So I
Right,
don't know.
that's why you're here, and you're getting a positive reaction. We just
I'm starting to.
need you to follow the process.
Okay, so I saw that Steve, Bob, and shook his head, yes, Bob, Steve's on board.
Yeah.
So what we're
But
saying.
procedurally, you
guys were the
can't do
voters
it.
on this. You are in agreement with it, the recommendation's been, or the request has been made to you by the board of trustees. So once we get that done, you guys think it's a good idea, and we should move forward.
what is it that the Board of Trustees wanted?
They need your recommendation on, the idea of the house being permitted to have 5 residential units, where currently there are 4 permitted and 1 illegal unit.
And it's here specifically for the joining of the lots, because that's one of their conditions.
Yeah.
To give it the legal parking.
And the feeling is that we really shouldn't even give our opinion about that issue until the subdivision is complete. Is that what I'm
You can give
understanding?
any opinions you want,
Right.
you just can't approve anything until the
What I would be doing if I controlled it, and you all know that I do not, is I'd be saying, yes, this is exactly what we want to make sure you're doing. This is what we want. We do not want to have anything else happen. And so if anything did, it would be in conflict with the opinion of the planning.
Well, I'm not sure that we need to go that far because there's nothing gonna happen between now and next month. I assume.
From your mouth to God's ears.
You have this plan here that's pointing at us.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to mention about that?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any purpose tonight to talk about the development potential of the site or ways of doing it. I think what you went out heads,
No, that comes after
yeah,
after we have this legal lot, and then you have the legal house on the conjoined lots.
right.
Then you can move forward with any other proposal for new buildings.
And is, assuming those conditions, is joining of lots as of right?
He can do that, yeah.
No, is it as of right? I mean, can it be denied under zoning code? Can anybody join any lots whenever they want, or does the planning board?
It has to come here for your approval.
It's the reverse of a subdivision, but it's still considered a subdivision.
Correct.
Because you're changing the identification of property boundaries. So we need a subdivision approval from this board, filing of a new plat map showing this parcel in its new configuration.
So if this were in a residential zone, and he wanted to join 3 lots to build some enormous mansion, and this board would say, wait a second, we don't want that in this zone, so you would deny it.
Right.
Here, you've got 3 commercial properties which would require 3 curb cuts, 3 different developments. It makes more sense to combine them and see what can be done here with 1 curb cut and a more modest building. So it's up to you, but it has to come here for you for the merger.
I think the efforts, your efforts, and particularly your clients should be toward getting the 26 Allen lot.
Yeah, it's very frustrating for me as well.
I realize that.
Included. But obviously, months go by and it's hanging out there. So, but we did make progress with the Board of Trustees referring us. I'm taking it that if we move in that direction, that it's the right direction, and all of us are in the same perspective on that being the best out there.
This subdivision proposal, is it, you know, the applicant has mentioned that the intention is to keep this 4/5 unit building there, but what is the, I mean,
No.
There's no guarantee
The
that,
house is gonna go from 4 to 5.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Is
All
it-
we're gonna have then is one great piece of property with a 5-family
That's right.
and a parking lot.
My
And
question,
if he wants to do something else, he doesn't have to do something else, that could be the end of it, which there are many who would think that's great.
but he could also turn around and demolish that and put in a
Yes.
much bigger building, correct?
He could get a demolition permit, take the house down with no
Correct.
approvals to do anything else. I don't think that's in the cards. If he wants to do anything else, which would involve taking that house down, he has to come to this board. And we do have 2 schemes which we will not show tonight, one of which keeps the house, one of which eliminates the house. So that's a discussion that will be in the future with this board, and I'm sure people here will have different opinions about it, and we can talk it all through.
and demo permits, by the way, come to you as
Yeah.
well,
Right.
before they're approved.
So just to, sorry to beat this slightly dead horse, in the subdivision proposal, you mentioned a scenario by which the planning board would not want to grant subdivision or, you know,
I said
removals, right?
imaginary scenario in a different zone, where it would be detrimental to the
Right.
surrounding
Ergo,
neighborhood.
I justify feeling that it's important to hear what you actually have to
Right.
say, and not my assuming that you want to do it.
So my question is, what is the, you know, now or some future date that the existing house is taken down and a much larger development happens there because we take this action of removing this, of granting the subdivision?
He has
Full right to, so,
right to, yes.
exactly.
I mean, even if he wanted to take that down and say, and you were to say no, what would be the reason? I mean, it's a commercial, it's a DT zone
Right.
with basically nothing around it but a dry cleaner. And, you know, you'd be hard pressed to find any reason. But with the required setbacks, it can't, and the rock outcropping, can't really be huge.
Right,
You know,
okay.
DT is limited to 3 stories now. There's a 25-foot rear yard setback and 5-foot sides, and that whole corner there is rock.
Right.
Right, so if this were to come down in new development, it would in fact probably be smaller than that current non-conforming house.
No, I wouldn't say no.
but
It would be probably 2.5 times the size of that house. And what we've shown, without describing it and showing it here tonight, is we've shown one that would have a 6-unit addition, building as an addition, 2 separate buildings, one with 5 existing, one with 6 new. The other is we'd have one new building which consolidates things and has a total of 14 units. Or perhaps I should say, not to exceed 14 units. So it's, and some of that would necessitate some clever understandings with the planning board of what makes the most sense. For example, we could build all the way across on this, which I think would be a disastrous, dumb thing to do. So what we're trying to do is consolidate all of the development up into the one end and keep one curb cut where it currently is. So that necessitates us having some latitude in the way things work, but that's for a later presentation.
Right.
Or, and I don't think this is wrong.
No,
but
we'll stop
correct
it.
me,
Or-
it's exactly that if not committed to this. If you, as an individual, had an interest, I would spend time with you, share everything with you, it's fine. I just can't, I don't think it's appropriate for me to make a presentation on it at this board.
No, it's not.
Javier's asked a good question, is there a downside? I mean, basically, we've on merging the lots, we've articulated 2 benefits. One is that the parking then becomes legally bound to support the house that presently doesn't have any parking. And the other is that we have a curb cut now serving the lot, the larger lot, and we don't really want, as a planners, and don't really want other curb cuts along Ashford farther down. So those are two positives. Is there a downside? We have to, then you do have a lot of tools to correct and to improve development on the site. You have seeker, you have traffic studies, you have you have the architectural review board, you have every power that you always had when they come back in with a project. The zoning is fairly, what would I say? It allows a fairly dense development, but the site has a lot of limitations to it that's gonna actually wind up keeping the development to, I think, a manageable size. But we're not looking at that yet, but we are taking into account the two benefits of merging, that we've got parking for this building and we have only the one curb cut. So I would say, on balance, the general sense has been, and it's good, this is what Patty needs to hear, is what he's saying. On balance, I think the general sense is that it's an improvement to have the lots merged. It's beneficial overall to have the lots merged.
Step by step.
But first, we have to get 26
Yeah.
Allen straightened out. That was also viewed by the board as beneficial to make sure just a single-family house went on Allen and not a through lot, which could provide access and parking or something to more development along Ashford. So we're going in the path we want to go. The real stumbling block, which 2 or 3 months ago, we finished with 26 Allen. And we thought, okay, that's good, we'll get that plat done, and that's done. And now we could then go look at this, and I think the pattern that they're doing is not a bad one, which is say, okay, try to get the 5th unit legalized, merge the lots, do the improvements that have to be done that are being required, improving the parking lot, sprinklers and all that stuff. And then another project could come in afterwards to use the balance of the site, or even eventually tear this building down. So that flow of events seems to be a logical flow, held up now by 26 Allen not
It
proceeding.
would all make a lot more sense probably to all of us if this was like, one thing happens 1 month, something else happens the next month. It's the 3 months of waiting for the seller of the parcel, the 25 feet, to actually get himself in a position where he can actually close, which we've been waiting for, and it's, you know, sometimes people get confused, they're not sure what they tweeted that day or whatever, so, we went so far as to actually get a notarized letter from the seller that he had no encroachments on, was free and able to sell, and now he apparently has to clean some. So what we did, we're waiting for that.
You know, good luck on that. But
Thank you very much.
and we'll see you next month.
You always will, right?
I'm sure we will.
Continue. Vote to
Vote to,
motion to continue.
Motion to continue?
Excuse me?
Or make a motion to continue this to next time?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's, well, wait, this was, doesn't look like it was a public hearing. Yeah, we'll continue it to next time, but it's not a public hearing.
Okay.
Are we a public hearing on this? I know we.
I think we closed that about 3 meetings ago.
Well, I know we closed a public hearing, and maybe we only had that one.
Yeah,
For 26.
yeah. I mean, I think we closed it so.
For Allen Street.
Well, we don't need to,
Yeah.
not tonight, we don't.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is Children's Village, continuation of public hearing for site plan approval for a proposed maintenance 1-story metal building.
Mr. Petretti said goodnight and left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe he's no longer working for Children's Village.
Oh, okay.
yeah. They had their architect here the last 2 meetings.
And he was on the walkthrough as well. Is there no one here to represent that project?
Okay. All right, we'll
Too bad they missed it.
move that to, move that.
A slam dunk.
Yeah, after the site visit, which I understand was very exciting.
Was fun.
Next item, item number 6 on the agenda, 401 Ashford Avenue, public hearing for site plan approval to renovate and convert 2-family residence to 3-family rental apartments. It's a public hearing. I would move we open the public hearing. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Now Kane, an architect representing John and Shannon Seltos, the owners of this building. Shall I run through the whole thing again? We did it before, just want everybody.
Sure.
Run through it sort of from scratch.
Is there a
so to
short?
speak.
Is there anybody here?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Is there anybody here to, yeah, speak to it?
I mean, I'm prepared to.
Anybody, maybe Paul could talk.
If not, maybe you could give us the
2-minute version.
speed of light
The speed-
version.
the speed.
Nobody's here to talk about after that,
Well, you know the project, we're converting a two-family house into a three-family house, and it's for rental purposes. And we received some comments from engineering, which we responded to, and they're all, pretty straightforward. The one thing there was a comment about the sidewalk, so we replaced the portion of the sidewalk that we replaced, it so makes sense rather than the entire sidewalk. Because the comment was to replace the entire.
Yeah, I was out there today, and it looked like the whole thing was in rough shape, but
Even where they had the crosswalk?
except for that.
Yeah, that's actually the owner's property. So I showed everything from here to be replaced
Okay.
on the drawings. Yeah, so replacing it, we had the, show the topography, which we didn't show before.
Right, I think we've all read them, there's a memo here from you, George, right?
Yep.
I actually read.
This is our response. Responses to each of them I sent you.
Yeah.
I edited the sidewalk one because I thought for some reason it was in good shape until I realized it wasn't.
Is this the first time, George has seen these comments?
I got
Yeah, I
them a
just
few
sent
days
them
ago.
Okay.
He edited
So-
them,
Okay.
he edited them today.
Okay, thank you.
Very likely haven't had a chance to. Yeah, so again, you've seen the building, it's in much needed repair, so the entire thing's gonna be repaired, stuff is gonna be repaired, the exterior is gonna be repaired. The area, there was another, you wanna go, I'm just sort of, you wanna go through the whole thing, or?
No.
All the comments, I guess the one question I had on the comments is some comment that suggested we need to detail the existing stormwater system, which I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, there's
It was kind of vague.
there's a number of pipes that come off and roof leaders that come off, and we're concerned where they go now. So we need to know that you're not altering them, changing them, and they're gonna become part of the new system, so. But that's something that you can work out, I think.
Right, we have to dig up, start the work before we investigate where they are.
There's things you can do to try to find out where they're located, where they go now. I mean, you can try to find the outlets of the pipes, you can snake them to
Right, I
it.
didn't see anything that suggested they were coming to air.
Yeah,
But-
we didn't see where they were going either, that's why we asked.
But what is the point, what is the?
To make sure that your roof leaders are gonna be connected to the new drainage system, that you're gonna either disconnect it or reuse it, to know exactly what's being reused and where it's going. That's the purpose.
Right, but because it's existing impervious area, we don't need to put it into the stormwater system, right? I mean, as long as there's no,
Well, right now, Niall, the roof on the side that sits right on the property line
right,
is draining, or sheeting off onto the neighbor's property and eroding their soil. So it would be good for you to put a gutter on that side and bring it down into the downspout.
there is a bit of a parapet up there. Surprised. Did you see a?
I didn't see any gutter or anything on that side, and I
No,
can
but I
see,
mean, it's a raised coping, which suggested to me all the water's going to the back and be picked up by the gutters. That's what it looks like to
Yeah, well, I didn't see evidence of that. I saw like an erosion line of the water coming right off and onto the neighbor's property.
All right. Look at that. And then there was one other one that was just a little, vague to me. I think it was, the sidewalks and the drainage, I guess that was the main thing. Everything else was pretty simple. And then we show the topography, it is steep, but it is an existing driveway, so there's no real way to make it less steep in any practical manner. And it's definitely navigable, I've driven up and down, so.
And you do have a platform at the top, and you're gonna maintain that platform. So you're coming up, you'll stop.
There's gonna be no change to the,
Yeah.
snag a car or anything like that.
Right.
And that would be anything you may improve, certainly. We are doing the softening that, or a little bit that edge here. Yeah, so I don't know, I think it's, straightforward, we'll just investigate the gutters and show a gutter on that side, and then, but I'm still confused, you want us to actually dig it up first, or?
Well, we
find
want
out?
you to know where the drainage is going now, so you wouldn't wanna build something new over something, a pipe or something.
Right, I'm not thinking,
So-
obviously, we wouldn't do that, when we start the process, we would be able to trace over if we had to, like, just sort of a normal process, rather than investigating before we get to work.
So, well, there's some existing, you have to show where those existing, if you're gonna connect it to the system, then you should show it being connected. If you're gonna come across it.
So that's really.
Anybody have, it's a public hearing, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this application? Any board members?
You know, there seems to be a lot of course, traffic on Ashford and coming off the Sawmill and so forth. Is there any visibility issues? I mean, it relates a little bit to the car slope and, you know, coming off the drive and
Yeah, I
how
don't
far
think,
apart the other cars are parked.
yeah, there's some spots in front of it, and there's a fence in front of it, but the line of sight isn't too bad. Though they are proposing some hedges there and whatnot, those should be low, so that don't obstruct line of sight, but that's a very good point. Because they are proposing some
It
landscaping.
was in some use before, and it had actually using the property, was parking on the grass, the previous owners had a frequent use, but it's not a new driveway, it's not a new, curb cut.
And there, sorry, I didn't bring my plans. There's room to turn around, so you're never backing up.
You do occasionally.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
At the bottom, there's a
At the bottom, right.
hammerhead, so that you pull in, you back up, and then you go
Back
face
up.
forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
They're coming right in front. I don't think we have any paperwork on this tonight, do we?
We drafted a resolution.
Well, that would be nice.
Do you have a copy of that?
I don't have it.
We got this by email, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one.
I don't have it, I missed
All right, step one, kid print.
that. I mean, it is a public.
Ignore the little green
Yeah,
memo
I
at
know,
the
I know.
We're
bottom.
gonna close the public hearing, right?
Yeah, no, it's a public hearing. If no one else, I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. I have a resolution, I will read. Village Dobbs Ferry Planning Board Resolution recommending that the Board of Trustees, because this is a recommendation of the Board of Trustees, not I'll let you
I
know.
don't know about that part. They saw it first, though.
You go through this again. Grant site plan approval for the renovation of an existing building to accommodate an additional dwelling unit to an existing two-family house together with related site work at 401 Ashford Avenue. Whereas Niall Kane Architect on behalf of 401 Ashford LLC, John and Shannon Saltos, owners, have applied for site plan approval to renovate an existing building to accommodate an additional dwelling unit and to make other site improvements at 401 Ashford Avenue and denoted on tax assessment maps as section 3, 100, block 86, so on. Whereas the following plans and documents were submitted as part of the application and lists the things that we and the engineer and others have been reviewing. Whereas the planning board is familiar with the site and surrounding area and the proposed improvement plans, and at their meeting of May 3, 2018, held a duly noticed public hearing with all comments were considered. Whereas the planning board has reviewed the staff report prepared by James J. Hahn Engineering dated May 3, 2018, for the septic application, and whereas the septic application would add one additional dwelling unit to the site which contains no recreational amenities, thus further burdening the village's existing public recreation facilities. Whereas the proposed site improvement to the single-family property is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Review Act and is therefore exempt from further environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board of the Village Dobbs Ferry herein recommends that the Board of Trustees of the Village Dobbs Ferry grant site plan approval for the septic application conditioned on the following: 1, all applicable provisions of the village, county, and state regulations shall be met. In addition, prior to the issuance of building permit, the applicant shall make a one-time payment of $10,000 to the village's recreation fee fund. 2, prior to the issuance of building permit, all required site plan and engineering review fees shall be paid, and all items in the village consulting engineer's memo dated May 3, 2018 shall be addressed to his satisfaction. 3, the following language shall be added to the plan: approved subject to all requirements and conditions of a resolution dated May 3, 2018 of the planning board of the Village Dobbs Ferry. Any change, erasure, modification, or revision of this plan absent reapproval by the planning board shall void the approval. Be it therefore resolved that this resolution shall have an effective date of May 3, 2018. I make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bosnahan, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Next item on our agenda is 28 Brookside Lane. It's a public hearing for site plan approval for proposed renovation and addition of new garage and master bedroom / bedroom.
Yeah.
Do we have a resolution on this? No. Okay.
My name is Scott Wells, I'm representing myself and my wife, Kimberly Agathon. I was here last month to introduce the project to you. Since then, I have basically received comments from the engineers. They were actually sent to an engineer I hired to help with the site.
Yep, please.
Those comments are mostly technical in nature, and I think we can respond, we have those responses that we just prepared today on those. There is one comment that I would like to talk about. It's not really so technical, it's more about zoning and the rear setback. And a comment you made that the deck and the existing building are projecting the rear setback. I don't think that it is. I was pretty intentionally trying to not make it go into the rear setback. It's actually a trapezoidal shaped lot. I don't know if you can see it from here. And it's less than 100 feet. And I could quibble and say that it's less than 100 feet. I can be less than 25 feet. I actually said let's just be really conservative and go to 25 feet. And that's where I put the edge of my deck to. The house, the existing house from the 1930s does project, but I consider that an existing conditions. The point is, I'm trying to go into in fact, I'll tell you another way in which I was actually overly conservative. This existing side setback is less than 10 feet. This one is way more than 10 feet. I think I probably could have made an argument that I could go within 10 feet over here. I decided to just go 5 feet so that I would leave the sum of those two at more than 20. Do not create another non-conformance. So basically what I'm trying to do is not create any new non-conformances. So I don't think that this needs to go to the zoning board.
I didn't send you there.
Sorry.
I didn't send you to the zoning board. You would have went there first.
Oh, okay.
I don't,
When the comment was made, I feel like I had to address it, so.
okay.
The other comments are mostly about the details of the way in which the Coltech system works. There was an calculation, we could easily add another chamber. It's not a problem, we have plenty of room in the front of the house.
It's the best.
There were some requests for additional details that we can also provide.
Ghosted envelope.
Yeah, nice.
Must have been prior.
I don't know if you want me to go again back through the project, now that I've addressed those items.
I have no, members of the board have any questions, comments on this application?
I think the drawings are actually really nice.
Yeah.
And very clean, and very easy to understand.
Yeah, this is, look at that.
Yeah, I like the sky exposure plane.
Yeah, this is the best rendition of the sky exposure plan we've
Right.
seen.
Yeah.
Actually, so the I have to say, the only thing, and I know it's none of our business, and the previous chair would have slapped me down, but Mr. Hunter won't. The only thing, if you go to your last sheet, A12, that has the before and after, the two renderings,
Oh, that's great.
which I think look really good. I just don't understand one thing.
Sure.
Have you been to the HRB, by the way?
No. I assume I'm going to go there next.
Yeah. I think the whole thing looks really great. I just don't understand why you're keeping that bay window. The existing bay window is like out of, unless it's like some kind of nostalgia statement, or it's like totally out of character. The before and after looks great. Why you wouldn't lose that bay window?
It's an interesting comment. I
But,
would have never thought to take it out.
Uh-huh.
Person, but I do think that from the inside, it's actually one of the more charming movies.
uh-huh.
So it was more.
That's a good reason.
Well, that's a good reason. That's a
I
good
mean,
reason.
it definitely needs reshape, I think, the kind of.
Or the roof, or maybe the roof a bit, or something. There's something weird about it.
A little bit. I think some of these slopes are steep and it's a
Uh-huh.
little shallow.
Yeah, there's something incongruous about it. Yeah, maybe there's a way to keep that in the inside and do something different on the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's even better, yeah.
but it looks way better too. Yeah.
No, I think that's gonna be a nice addition to the neighborhood, actually.
Yeah.
Any other comments? This is a public hearing.
What are your, anybody's reaction to the setback? I mean, if you sort of straightened it out, because it's sticking, it's under 140 and it's sticking in mandatory.
He conforms.
It's existing.
That's an existing non-conformance.
Right, oh, okay.
And his deck is,
All this new stuff is within the setbacks.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Rather than do just steps, I would add a little bit more.
Mhm.
You didn't really want to do a deck, it's a small yard.
Gotcha,
anyway.
gotcha. Okay,
Just to be able to play.
all right.
Yeah?
One question I had, you're taking down a big maple in the backyard.
Yes.
Can you, I didn't see a landscape plan, but are you,
There is a plan.
but on it, there's no replacement tree. Can you put one in?
Not a maple.
One that's just as big as. Do you still have to get, if there's a big, because
Yeah, you
if
gotta
there's a
get-
big tree that you want to take down on your property.
Tree
is-
commission.
Is it the tree commission?
Yeah.
Which is an independent thing from us.
If it's approved under site plan, he doesn't have to go to the tree commission.
I see.
If it's independent, then yes, it goes to the tree commission. But if you approve the site plan and it shows that tree being removed on it,
Then he doesn't have to go to
then
the
he
tree
doesn't have to go to the tree.
Jot it down.
Ed, would it help if
It's a
we
Norway
refer
maple.
this to the AHRB? Would it help speed that process up, or does it make any difference?
He could definitely go to the AHRB while he's here. There's no problems.
It's a Norway maple? What kind of maple? Yeah, those are bad trees.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to be heard on this application? We have a limited number of possibilities.
Yeah, it's a little bit like tree hugger and everything.
So I just want to ask that it says on the docket or on the agenda that the hearing is to approve the site plan.
missed that?
We don't have a resolution.
No, we do not have a resolution tonight.
So can I still move the HRV?
Yes, you could go
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah,
Should we close the public hearing?
we will, unless we can get somebody out there to talk.
I don't think we opened it, so.
Well, we did.
No, except for Pat.
I don't
We
know.
did.
I think it's excellent.
I think we continued it from the previous.
All right, I move we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor? Okay. Item number 8 on our agenda is 88 Belden Avenue, pre-submission conference for site plan review for proposed master bedroom and bathroom addition.
Good evening, Max Faragi from Max Faragi Architects. I am here with Mr. and Mrs. Darvish. They are having 88 Belgium. They are across from the law court. We are here for a site plan, so actually I was not sure of this. Consequently, we also prepared the addition on the side, the impervious surfaces are minimal, I think it's around 76 square feet. But we did prepare a larger surface water distribution. The first floor addition is approximately 76 square feet, and the second floor master bedroom addition is a little bit north of 600 square feet, 601 square feet. The first floor addition is basically an enclosed, it's a small enlargement of the existing one-car garage. I thought that we were past, but I do have also some photographs. And then on the, there is also an exit pathway from the basement to the larger level in the rear of the property. And on the second floor, it's a master bedroom addition and a master bath. I have elevations, and I do have, we also prepared some, for the, let me,
We have the drawing, so you tell us what number sheet you want us to
the
look
number
at.
sheet for the front elevation is A4, but I also wanted to show you the existing situation, the existing house. And then we have, plans prepared for that special board, which also shows the skyline, the windows. So I can maybe quickly show you,
Right, that's, we're looking at that
this
sheet.
is the existing.
It's the last sheet.
Yes. It's a separate sheet, we prepared it separate to show the existing residence the way it is. And on A4, and right underneath it, actually, you can see, sure, right underneath it, you can see the existing elevation. As you will notice, there is a little bit of an imbalance in the geometry of the house right now. The left, the right side as you stand in front of it. There are two bedrooms, which I suppose it was some kind of an addition at some point. And we are proposing with the master bedroom to align the roof lines, basically. And we are embellishing the front entrance also to a certain extent. We do believe it's quite a considerable embellishment of an improvement of what you have over there. Other than that, and this is the house to our right, which which is sort of like a contemporary house. It's relatively new. I am not sure how old is this house, or I believe, Mrs. Danish, do you remember when they started construction of this, like 2 to 3 years, 4 months ago, right? If I remember it?
It's not even a year ago,
It's not finished.
yeah, 1 year, this time, yes.
And
It's not done.
and this one on to our left, it's a single colonial house. Very simple.
Well, I visited the property
You went.
during, and I'm delighted to see the changes being made. It's a huge improvement over the existing house, and if you're new to the village, thank you very much and welcome, because
No, I think they say
He's been here a long
there have
time.
been residents, they have 2 sons and they've been in town for a while.
okay,
So
wonderful.
Very good football players.
they're not newcomers. I think you are their soccer coach or the son's soccer coach.
Football.
Football.
Well, this is.
No, I was the soccer coach.
That's great.
So, any questions by all means? Again, the additions are around 76 square feet at the ground level and around 601 square feet on the upper.
And on this, and I noticed that there's a very small encroachment, I guess, on the sky exposure plane on one thing, or is that within the,
It's maybe like a couple of feet on the front elevation. However, upon advice from Ed, we have prepared an alternative, which basically would cut the corner of that roof back again, or would go back. I'm not crazy about just doing it because of the side exposure. I'm usually a utilitarian in architecture, like, you know, the use of the building to follow the form.
so the
If
the
it-
final call on this, anyway, Ed, is actually the AHRD.
Is a-
It is. Yes.
If it was within our approval, we would approve.
No, but I'm saying,
Yeah, no, we
as
get-
an
I get it.
alternative, we did prepare and Ed advised us to go with an alternative plan in front of the architecture board. I'm not sure that I agree as an architect to the aesthetics of it, but, you know.
Well, when the ARB usually grants a waiver of the sky exposure, they require a compliant drawing so that they can say to themselves,
so they can
this,
see what it
the
would
waiver
take
is
to fix
better
it.
than
Yeah.
what it would have been.
Yeah, okay.
That's smart.
Well, that's fair enough.
It is a very minimal encroachment.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, in an area, yeah.
I mean, it looks like the only non-conforming part of the whole project is the existing lot width, which is below the required size. So there's nothing new that's non-conforming, right?
Ed, I have one, the building kind of code question thing. You're building, you're building a new roof form over the existing roof, right?
Correct.
So what happens to the dead space? What are the code issues that relate to whatever trapped dead space there is between?
It's a cavity, and Ed, please correct me if I'm saying something incorrect. As far as I know, as structurally, that would be my job, of course.
There would be
I
fire
meant
stop,
more- I meant more
there would
for
be
fire.
fire stop every 10 feet if you had a cavity like that.
And you would need
So
to
you break it
comply
up
with the
into
energy
10.
code. The energy code.
Well, if you're having
Okay.
air leakage, yeah, but that's not gonna be the issue. The issue is gonna be a space where you're gonna have potential of fire.
Right.
So if you have that cavity enclosed and you break it up every 10 feet with a fire stop.
Right.
And we can just remove, I can also remove the existing shingles if it's a fire hazard, yeah.
No, I actually don't know what the answer is. I just know that, I know you can't create these kind of big spaces
No.
without some kind of fire stopping.
Yeah, so you gotta break it up every 10.
It's probably just sheet rock.
The same thing if you have a cavity behind a wall, if you're furring out the wall and there's a space behind your furring
Right.
strips,
You have
every 10 feet, you're putting
You
a
have to
fire
break it.
break.
Yeah.
What is the machine plug everything is 5 8, 5 X, 1 hour?
Well, like I say, if you've got a horizontal or vertical space that's going longer than 10 feet, then you put perpendicular in there to to stop.
So that it's on one part.
Yes,
In the cap.
yes.
In the cabinet,
Yeah,
yeah.
goes long to the top.
I move that we have a call for a public hearing at our next meeting.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Thank you. So, good. We look forward to seeing you next, at our next meeting.
Mr. Darvish, is it possible to go to the first ARB meeting or?
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
So it can be done many. If you make the deadline, I'll call Pat.
And there's no way to have a resolution actually ready until after the public, like, is it possible that there could actually be a public hearing and a resolution all in the same evening?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we often do that. Several of the, well, just one of the ones we had tonight was like that. That was 401. The one thing I was a little feeling a bit bad about, I know the Children's Village people didn't show up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but there were no issues,
No.
and it was a continuation of a public hearing, and nobody was here for the public hearing, one would presume. So I just felt, and it's only a recommendation to the Board of Trustees, and I did draft a resolution. I wondered,
You want to reopen? it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I wondered if we would just pass the thing on.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Good idea, thank you.
But you guys are.
You're done.
We can go, I will call Pat tomorrow tonight. I have a question for you. Do you need to go, I have a very small 2 ADHD call pen. Do you need to be there for the perk test? No, I don't. You don't? Oh. Okay, thank you very
Good,
much.
thank you.
Yes, the answer is yes. You want to read it?
I feel, tonight it's all been about passing people. Makes me feel very bureaucratic instead of
Brought the rubber stamp.
official. There's a process, passing paper.
Village of Dobbs Ferry Planning Board resolution recommending that the Board of Trustees grant site plan approval for the construction of a maintenance building together with related site work, Children's Village, 1 Echo Hill Road. Whereas Paul J. Pedretti, engineer on behalf of Children's Village, has applied for site plan approval to construct a 34-foot by 74-foot maintenance building and make related site improvements at 1 Echo Hill Road, and denoted on the tax assessment maps as section 3.1, et cetera, and located in the educational zoning district. And whereas the following plans and documents were submitted as part of the application: site plan, storage building, the Village of Dobbs Ferry site plan application, and letter from Paul Pedretti. Whereas the planning board is familiar with the site and surrounding area and proposed improvements, and at their meeting of April 5th, 2018, held a duly noted public hearing for all comments, and all comments were considered. And whereas on April 14th, 2018, a duly noticed site visit was held by the planning board, and whereas the planning board was reviewed the staff report prepared by James J. Hahn Engineering, dated March 30, 2018, for the sub-application. And whereas the proposed site improvement to this education institution is less than 10,000 square feet and is therefore deemed a type 2 action under SECRA, and therefore exempt from further environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry herein recommends that the Board of Trustees grant site plan approval for the subject application, considering the following: all applicable provisions of the village, county, state, and regulations shall be met prior to the issuance of a building permit. All required site plan and engineering review fees shall be paid, and all items in the village consulting engineer's memo dated March 30, 2018 shall be addressed to satisfaction. The following language shall be added to the plan: approved subject to all requirements and conditions of the resolution dated May 3rd, 2018 of the Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, New York. Any change, erasure, modification, or revision of the plan absent pre-approval from the planning board shall void this approval. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be an effective date of May 3rd, 2018. I make the motion. Second. All in favor?
Yay. Oh, no.
Yes, one quick thing before you go. The Sustainable Task Force had a presentation Tuesday night from the PPSA's Safe to Routes Committee. And one of the things that they talked about was the idea of having a map that they're working on preparing to show locations of sidewalks, crosswalks, street improvements, all kinds of things like that to make it better. One of the recommendations that night was that they provide that to the planning board, to the here and not realize that there's a reason to put a sidewalk somewhere else. So the idea is, just like we have the open space plan, to have the network of walking and biking trails plan that you know where people have identified a need, so that if a developer comes in, you can integrate that into what you were looking to have done.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. Does it have to be, and for us to, it doesn't have to be officially, is it gonna, like, it could be a great reference document, but I'm also wondering, does it actually have to be officially adopted
I
by
don't
the?
believe so. I think it could just be something that.
That we look
the
at.
Task force is prepared, that you guys have as one of your tools. One of the things that the people working on it have done is they've spent a lot of time with the LWRP, the vision plan, the complete streets, I think they've got a very good direction on this. And we often, it's hard to remember everything. So we're looking at a piece of property, it's a development, we think of this, we don't think of that. So I think this would be a way of helping
That's great.
make that happen. They're kind of aggressive. They're not, I assume they can draw the line of the developers, us developers, might as well make us pay for everything, right? But they're actually looking for it to be on any project. And they're trying to come up with a concept of if a certain amount of money is being spent to do something on this property, and there's a need for sidewalks improvements or something like that in front, that a certain percentage of the cost will be allocated to doing that work.
Is there a map? Is there gonna be?
They've got a map. Right now, it's a very useful map, but it's a map that's put together by the safe routes, whatever it is for the PTSA. It's not an engineering map. At the same time, it does a good job of identifying where there are needs for crosswalks and additional signage and
Yeah,
sidewalk.
it doesn't have to be engineering.
No. I was just curious for I was trying to imagine how we would use it.
Yeah.
And I guess if there's a map where we could locate the property that's before us in this larger network.
Yeah. One of the things that gave a reason to give thought to this was the 3 houses on Broadway. Because you guys did think of having a sidewalk on McClellan, but not realizing that there's.
Sidewalks on Broadway are gonna be installed.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
That is correct.
yeah, we missed that, though.
How did you, well, I guess we should. Talk about that.
I have my,
That's good news.
We missed that.
I didn't realize we could even say anything.
Thank you.
I didn't even realize it was.
Now,
I think there's something in the code about.
Is there another piece of business?
no,
Okay.
no.
The subdivision
I think,
code is.
I think we had a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Yes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye, aye.